Hey everyone, welcome to the F Podcast. I'm Gayu Lewis, your host and a licensed menopause coach, and I'm so excited for you to join us today. The podcast is all about supporting women through the journey of menopause and beyond. I am super excited to have a special guest join us today, Liberty. Liberty is a certified womb steam practitioner through the Peristeam Hydrotherapy Institute in California and a modern plant medicine woman. She is passionate about sharing the ancient cross cultural practice of womb steaming, advocating for menstrual cycle awareness, and helping women reconnect with their inherent superpower. Woo woo! But that's not all, right? Liberty is also a dedicated, certified liquid flow provider trained through Vatsu India under the Worldwide Aquatic Bodywork Association. Her passion lies in creating transformative experiences in water, guided by her intuition to create a sanctuary where individuals can simply just be. We are going to dive into womb steaming, water therapy, and how these practices can bring about incredible benefits. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's jump into this amazing conversation. You are in for a treat. Liberty, I am so happy that you are joining me in my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
From the day I learned about or heard about womb steaming, I was totally intrigued. And when I experienced it, it was a wow moment for me. And I truly believe that women across the globe should know this ancient practice. And hence, I wanted you to be part of my podcast. And I'm so happy that you're here today with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Liberty, could you quickly, share a bit about your journey and what inspired you to become a menstrual health coach?
It was kind of something that I stumbled upon. It was not a plan. I was moved to Dubai. It was like in 2018. So just kind of wandering the beaches of Dubai, listening to podcasts such as this. And one of the podcasts had a guest, and her name was Kelly Garza. She has a company in the US called Steamy Chick.
Okay.
And she's really reviving this ancient practice and training women like myself all over the world to help women through their period, through their menstruating years and beyond.
Okay.
And when I heard about it, I was completely disconnected from my menstrual cycle. Like I didn't track my cycle. I didn't have much pain. I bled. Like there wasn't anything that would make me need to or want to focus on my menstrual cycle. So that kind of was like, okay, why would I need this?
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the podcast, she started talking about how steaming, womb steaming or vaginal steaming can help infections. And this is something that like sprung a light in my head because something that I struggled with my whole life. When I was young, I used to get UTIs. And then when I was older in my sexual, path, whatever, I started getting bacterial infections and yeast infections. Like I used to not even be able to go into a pool without getting an infection, like super sensitive to anything, any changes of environment. So I was like, okay, I will try anything. Like that was it. I was like, however I can get out of this cycle of antibiotics, suppositories, to change my lifestyle. Like I did change a lot of things in my lifestyle. Like I looked at my sugar, my dairy, my wheat, all the things that they say to help the microbiome. Yeah. But still, I think there was some emotional thing or something was off. And so I started steaming kind of DIY.
Okay.
I tried to get like herbs from her.
Okay.
But I didn't know about shop and ship then, and I couldn't. So she was saying on the podcast, you can really do it with anything in your kitchen or even just with water. So I had Himalayan pink salt, which she recommended, and basil.
Okay.
So I started with that, and I kind of intuitively felt, okay, I should do this weekly as a self-care practice. So I started steaming like weekly. And before I knew it, that infection that normally came never came.
It's like, tada, bye bye.
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't really want to talk about it. But meanwhile, I started sending podcasts to my friends, my sisters, every woman I knew, I would send like, have you heard of this? Have you heard of this? Like, you have to try it. It's amazing. So yeah, that's how I found it. And
Yeah.
then there's so much more to the journey, but I don't want to like talk.
No, that's so good.
forever.
Like I said, like you said, that generally something that helps us with certain pinch points of us. I think we connect more in general, and I think, uh, like I said, even I've never had any issues with my periods in general throughout my life. Even though I have PCOS, but never had any issues. But that womb steaming experience was magical, very very sensual. I remember I used that word.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
remember.
can you tell us more about the whole concept of womb steaming and its historical or any cultural significance? Where did it originate from? Is there like any particular religion that started it or anything like that?
So I always say it has no origin. It
Okay.
comes from everywhere and nowhere. Because if you look far back enough in every culture, women were doing this from, Japan to South America and everywhere in between. It's just a lot closer for some cultures than others. For example, in some places in India, it's still used, um, especially where like there's still midwives and
Yeah.
like traditional
Yeah.
medicine. Uh, some Ayurveda uses it, and it's usually around postpartum healing.
Okay.
And then in South Korea, it's also still widely used. It's used almost every woman steams after her period, and there's spas that offer this service. So, and that's again used more for the menstrual cycle.
Hmm.
Um, some African countries, like for example in Sudan, they use smoking for it's kind of like a ceremony for weddings for pre-marriage.
Oh,
So yeah, like if you go everywhere, you can find it. But then it's been found as far back as like ancient Egypt. The first gynecology book that we have is an Italian one that the picture on front is a woman steaming, and they call it fumigation.
wow.
Yeah, and I do also have some clients that said, okay, my grandmother steamed for infections using lavender, and they were from Sweden. So it's not as far away from us that we think, it's just was lost with modern day gynecology, kind of when the healthcare of women went from the hands of the women of the
Yeah.
village,
Yeah.
the midwives, to
Yeah.
modern day. And of course there's a place for that and a place for everything, but this is just kind of a home remedy that you can use to try and address anything that you would like to as a tool before you might need more
Yeah.
drastic measures.
Very exciting. Like I think it existed but somehow lost its roots, and now I think people are now understanding the more importance of holistic practices, and I think it's kind of getting its recognition. Is that something that you would say is happening?
Well, yeah, I think it's really kind of spreading like wildfire around the world. Kelly Garza is really, it's amazing what she's done because, for a lot of women, we try all of the methods that are given to us by the gynecologist, like, which is most of the time pills or
Yeah.
surgery. So a lot of us struggle and we're just searching for something, and then we come across this and it helps us. Like I've had women with cysts like that, they've been on medication for years to keep it the same size, steam for 2 months and it's gone. So it's like because of that, more word of mouth, it's spreading. And unfortunately, like there's not a lot of scientific evidence out there for this, which prevents a lot of women from wanting to try it.
Yeah.
Um, but fortunately, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence and a lot of stories and a lot of testimonials. And this is what, I believe in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm a staunch believer of holistic practices and something that you can do to prevent rather than, like modern medicine, which just suppresses symptoms. So if you're
Exactly.
able to do something like you're saying, steam for 2 months and the rashes or the infections are gone or the cysts have actually disappeared, I think women need to explore these more than
Yeah.
just go to a doctor and say, okay, I'll take a pill and be comfortable with it. What are the specific benefits of womb steaming for overall menstrual health?
Okay, so there's many benefits. Um, Firstly, there's the physical benefits,
Mm.
and then there's kind of like the energetic or spiritual benefits, as you would say. So, firstly, like basically anything you would want to go to a gynecologist for, you can try and address with steaming.
Okay.
It's not a magic pill, it's a tool on the journey, it's a lifestyle, it's a ritual. And through that, it can help affect your physical symptoms. So, painful periods is the first thing. You know, a lot of people, women, think it's normal to have painful periods.
Mm.
So when I ask them, "Do you have pain?" They're like, "No, not really. Like, I
Mm.
just have a little bit on the first day, or right, a little bit in the morning in my back, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not compared to my friend who's like in bed for 3 days and can't move and can't work." And so, no. But even that little bit of pain shouldn't be there. So it's something that is very common, but it's not normal.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. Like, that's why I believe it's for everyone. Like, everyone can steam because it can help just keep everything functioning properly and the circulation going, the stagnation going or gone.
Yeah.
So then irregular cycles. So if you have short or long periods,
Yeah.
um, if you have any other symptoms like extreme PMS, acne, um, night sweats, hot flash, like
Yeah.
anything, digestive issues,
Yeah.
anything that goes with the period. Um, Cysts, it's very effective in draining cysts. Fibroids, it's a tool, but fibroids are much more difficult
Yeah.
because it's very emotional. Also, lifestyle is super important. Um, those are the main things. Okay, infections.
Yeah.
Infections is also tricky. Like my case was very like, I think it was meant to be somehow.
Yeah.
But it's harder to get rid of infections, but
Yeah.
it's possible. Um, yeah, basically those are the main things. Okay, labor prep, so prenatal, you can start steaming at 37 weeks. It
Okay.
helps prepare the body for labor,
Wow.
soften the cervix, the perineum, and also for postpartum. It's very helpful in
Okay.
helping the body
What?
heal. Probably forgetting. Oh, yeah, of course, perimenopause.
Mm.
Going through, um, yeah, that
Yeah.
stage of our lives, it can help with vaginal dryness, hot flashes.
Yeah.
And just, I think it's something that you should start before you get into perimenopause, throughout the perimenopause.
Yeah.
It's like a practice that can keep you connected, because also I believe that perimenopause is a time of our lives as women that's a course correction. So,
True. Totally agree.
yeah.
Totally. That's why I think I work a lot. I tell women that, start making the lifestyle changes when you're 38. Don't wait for you to become 40, 42 is when you first see the symptom and you say, okay, let me try making a difference at that time. A lot of people I speak to, they're like, oh, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. And they tell me, you're too young. How can you be in perimenopause? And I'm like, dude, I'm 40. And, with the current exposure to toxins that we have, me hitting my menopause might be earlier than what they say
True.
the average age is about 50, 55. It's like a bigger gap, but that's when people hit. But then it could happen anytime with the amount of toxic exposure that we have. So always tell, but I want to make the changes at the right time so that I'm not hit by the symptoms, and
Yeah.
it's not a shock for me, but rather like a slow progression into menopause.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's a natural thing that our bodies are supposed to go through.
Yeah.
It's not something we should dread or that should be like this horrible event. If we prepare,
Yeah.
if we're living aligned, if we're living our truth, if we're taking care of ourselves, then it should be
And it's like a natural journey.
a natural journey.
What are the specific type of herbs that are commonly used? I know that when we did the womb steaming, there's some specific ones you used, but what are their specific benefits?
Okay, so I'll go through that. And then I also wanted to actually kind of describe what womb steaming
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like.
go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
So it's the easiest way to describe it is sitting over a pot of tea, right?
Okay.
You experienced it. So yeah, so we prepare different herbs for different different issues, which I'll explain in a minute. You put it in a clay pot, ideally, so it keeps the heat in. And then you bring it to a boil, you steep the herbs. And then I have a chair that goes over the pot, and you sit. And you sit without your underwear, so the steam rises and hits your whole pelvic area. And the steam is actually entering your skin, not necessarily the vagina. But because we have so many vessels here, it's very effective in increasing the circulation. So the herbs that are used, I have 3 blends, and most women fall into one of these categories. The first indicator for which herbs are the best is the cycle length, the menstrual cycle length. So 27 days or shorter is one herb, which is called, my blend is called You Empower.
Okay.
But it has herbs in it that help strengthen the spleen. Because a lot of times when we have a short cycle, we have some kind, we call it uterine fatigue in traditional Chinese medicine, and how I learned.
Yeah.
But it can also be considered like adrenal fatigue,
Okay.
or just like your body is tired. So we need to strengthen the spleen and strengthen the womb.
Wow.
For that. And then I have a blend that's for 28 days or more.
Okay.
So ideally our cycle should be 28 to 30 days, because this is the cycle of the moon, the average cycle of the moon.
Yeah.
But of course, some people fall shorter, some people fall longer, and it's not like there's something wrong, because we're not cookie cutter, and we're not, but we try to get as close to that, range as possible. So especially if you have a cycle which is longer than 30 days, which a lot of women with PCOS have, it's good to have that blend. And in that blend, there's a lot of herbs that help improve the circulation. So blood tonics like rose and nettles, dandelion, which is a liver tonic. So yeah, basically those are the 2 blends that most people fall into. Okay. And then I have a You Chill Out blend, which is for people going through menopause. Or other people who have the symptoms, but it's for dryness, vaginal dryness, and hot flashes, night sweats. So it has a lot of herbs in it that are cooling and moisturizing, basically.
Nice. We have to have a special circle night only for the menopausal women, I think. That's going to happen quite soon then. Any precautions or contradictions for women who want to try womb steaming?
Yeah, so there are some like hard contraindications, and there are soft contraindications. So the hard indications are basically if you are pregnant before 37 weeks, no steaming. If you are bleeding, no steaming. Even if you're spotting red, no steaming. If you have a burning itch, so itchiness is okay on its own, but if it's burning and itchy, then it's also a no.
Okay.
And then, so these are the hard no's. Then if you have herpes or HPV, these are like anything that are heat signs in the body. We recommend that you only steam for 10 minutes at a time, and super mild heat, especially if you have genital herpes outbreaks. The steam can cause an outbreak if you're super sensitive. So with women who have that, I recommend that they wait for the steam to cool quite a bit before steaming. And even though you're sitting and you think, okay, I don't feel that heat, it's still working, because the steam is still rising, and the healing properties of the herbs are still entering your skin. HPV is okay. It's actually very, very good for HPV, which I forgot to mention. It's just, again, 10 minutes is enough because you have heat in your body. And then the other is short cycles. Okay. You can steam with short cycles, but again, only for 10 minutes, no longer. That's why in my circles, we only steam for 10 minutes, because I can't check everyone and filter and put these people in this week and this people, so I just do something that's safe for everyone. I pick a neutral blend, and then we steam for 10 minutes. So basically, if you steam longer than 10 minutes, if you have short cycles, then it can cause your cycle to be even shorter. And then also it's important when you steam. So if you have short cycles, I don't usually recommend steaming after ovulation. Okay. So you can steam like 3 times in a row right after the period. Okay. Great. and then once again around ovulation if you like, and then wait.
Okay. That actually brings me to my question in terms of how often is actually womb steaming advisable for people to do? You mentioned about the time right now, but in terms of how frequent can I do it?
Yeah, so it again depends on your cycle. So,
Okay.
but in general terms, if you have a pretty regular cycle and you just have a little bit of pain or you just want to steam to keep everything flowing properly, um, I like to say, once a week is nice because you
Okay.
hit each phase of the menstrual cycle.
Okay.
So you hit your spring, your summer, your fall, and then winter, of course, you're not
Mm.
steaming. Um, but again, like if you're someone who has PCOS or a missing cycle or a lot of pain or endometriosis, I even work with women and recommend that they steam daily
Okay.
for a few cycles just to really increase the circulation and get it
Okay.
flowing. And then, of course, if you have a short cycle, you steam less
Yeah.
or just in the beginning. If you're trying to get pregnant, then, I don't recommend steaming after ovulation either.
Mm.
So you just steam before. So it kind of depends. Like, and if people can either book a consultation if they have a lot of issues, or they can always message me and I'm happy to just say, okay, this is what you should do. Get the kit and get started.
Okay. At what age, ideally, do you recommend people start this womb steaming practice?
I mean, I I would recommend starting it as soon as you start bleeding. Like
Mm.
once you start your menstruation journey, it can change your complete perspective and experience of a period if you start early. But of course, when you start, you're young and the mom has to be on board and has to be on your radar. So basically anytime.
Okay.
Once you learn about it, start it. It's a beautiful practice to do. And it's not just about the steam and the physical, as I said, it's also about the connection to your womb, to your body, honoring your womb, what it does for you. Like every month you have the potential to create life.
Yeah.
And I think we take this for granted. Like we don't really take the time to say, okay, wow, thank you. It's just like, oh God, I'm on my period again.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm in so much pain, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, or this and that, or I'm pregnant and, all the things that come along with pregnancy and birth. And so when do we take the time to actually stop and connect to our womb and to thank our womb for everything it does and has done and will do for us? And it seems silly and maybe a little bit woo woo, but it's really powerful.
Yeah. But you know, I interviewed someone just before this who spoke about the whole feminine energy. And I think with what you're speaking, it's all about when you womb steaming, you actually connecting with that power, right?
Exactly. With that power, with your womb, because not only do we create babies from our wombs as women, but this is the center where we create our dreams, our lives, our goals. Like, and if we create a relationship with our womb, with this center part of our body, um, we can be super powerful. Like it can guide us. It can be our like compass.
Yeah. So just connect, so it speaks with you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
speaks to you. Like
Because Mariam was actually talking about the whole, now in today's world, women have forgotten to connect with their feminine power and their more masculine energy, that they, because the world is very masculine. And she was talking a lot about, again, connecting, and I think this is something that will help us connect and understand the power that we have as women.
yeah, like a lot of times with this whole like feminine uh what is it called, like this, what was in the 80s, like feminine activate
Yeah, yeah,
active I can't think. Anyways, this was all about like, we're powerful, we can do
yeah.
the same as men, we're this
Equality
and
and
that,
yeah,
equality. But actually our power lies in our um cycles. Like it's not weak or bad or less that we need to slow down when we bleed. This is actually our power. This is when we can gather our strength. This is when we're the most intuitive,
yeah. Mm,
where we can really create.
yeah,
But it's a mindset switch that we have to have because we think, oh, okay, this makes me less, or I should.
yeah,
We're always shitting all over ourselves that we should,
yeah.
do everything. And I call it divine laziness. And that's what we get to do.
I love the term divine laziness. I think I'm going to follow that. I like that.
Yeah. And really own it. Don't feel guilty. So yeah,
Yeah,
connecting to these parts of us.
divine laziness. I think that's a great term. You also do sound healing as part of the whole journey with womb steaming, so it helps. What does sound healing really do? Are there any particular sounds or frequencies that are especially beneficial while you're doing the whole womb steaming practice?
Yeah, so I hold circles in my place weekly for people to come and steam. And it's really a woman's circle where there's a safe space to share, to be vulnerable. So we steam, and then after the steam, I invite everyone to lay down to do sound healing. And the reason why I chose that is because sound healing, there is a frequency, it's the 440 hertz that's really powerful for our cells. And I feel after the steaming and the meditation, to have the sound frequencies vibrating around our body and really solidifying the healing and the journey that we just went on, basically.
Yeah, it was a very, very good experience, like overall, I think
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, Out of the other many hats that you wear, you also do water therapy.
Yes.
Okay, what is the process of water therapy, and what can individuals expect during a session?
So water therapy is now like, I love it so much. So close to my heart. Um, Basically, it's a journey. It's a one-on-one therapy in the water, warm water. And I'm moving your body, stretching, massaging until I feel that you're kind of dropping in and relaxing and trusting. The whole journey is about surrender and letting go. And this is hard for a lot of us. We try to control everything in our lives, from every moment to every aspect. And when can we actually let go and trust? Trust the process, trust life, trust that everything is going to work out. So this is this, like a practice that will help us to do that. So as soon as I feel your body dropping and letting go, then I give you a nose clip. And once you put on the nose clip, we go on a journey under the water, which is very much a rebirthing experience if you choose it to be so. Doesn't have to be, but it can be um, a journey back into the womb. And it's very nurturing, very like there's not often times that we are held as adults
Yeah.
in such a way, and super powerful. Like, and a lot of people think, okay, maybe it's a little bit weird, intimacy, but something about the water kind of breaks all of that. And it's just so beautiful. And it's instant meditation. When you're under the water, flowing, sometimes you feel like a fish or a mermaid, and your mind just stops because it's just you and your breath. So what does this do for the body is basically it resets the nervous system. It helps people with insomnia, with headaches. Um, it just really allows the body to reset.
And how long is this session generally?
So the session is in 1 hour in the water, but it's a 1.5 hour session.
Okay.
So we have a 15 minutes before where we talk, I explain everything. Then we go in the water for an hour. I also end with a little bit of sound healing. And then there's time, like 15 minutes for integration to just, because a lot of times people go so deep that it takes a little bit to like come back and to just not have to rush and go away. And we can also speak about what happened. And yeah, it's just like if you want to do something, some self care for yourself, I really recommend that. It's like another level. It's like a 3-dimensional massage journey in the water.
Wow. That's on my to-do list. It's
Yeah.
there. um, in your experience, you are the plant woman. You do the sound healing, the womb steaming. How do these alternate therapies compare to more conventional approaches when it comes to managing health and wellness? Because nowadays everyone is um, anything that is short, everything quick. They want things very quickly. They're happy to pop a pill, take an injection for weight loss rather than actually making lifestyle changes. What do you think? How, I mean, I think we both believe in the same thing, but what's in your experience? How do you see these alternate therapies in relation to these modern techniques?
Well, I think like if you do regular practices and lifestyle changes, you're actually getting to the root of the
The issue.
the reset or the
Yeah.
issue, because our bodies are capable of healing themselves, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
So with the help of like the herbs or the practices like the water therapy, the steaming, working out, like taking time for you, I think
Mm.
is that enables the self-healing in the body basically.
Yeah.
And also the rituals around it. Like you don't have to just like tick it off your list, but
Mm.
make time. Like when you're steaming at home, like create your sacred space, your candles, your incense, your music, and all of these things is like for your body.
And just disconnect from the world and
Disconnect from
just
the
be
world.
with
Yeah,
yourself.
with yourself. And I think that's super powerful because you can pop a pill any day, like, but at the end of the day, you're not, your body's still, maybe you're tricking your body.
Mm. Yeah. Like they might take longer to see the health benefits, but they're going to be much better for you
Yeah,
than
they're
the
long
short term.
term. It's
Yeah.
actual, it's real.
Yeah. Rather than the short term stuff.
Yeah.
Do you recommend combining these therapies for a more holistic approach? And if so, how should individuals integrate them into their routine?
Yeah, I mean, for steaming, definitely, I think it should become a practice. It should become a lifestyle.
Mm.
And then you will, like, if you start early, when you start menstruating, you're going to become more connected to your bleed, more connected to your cycle, um, have less pain, have less of the acne and all of the hormonal imbalances
Yeah.
as you're going through that phase.
Yeah.
And then when you continue into your fertile years and you want to start getting pregnant, everything is going to be functioning properly. So hopefully you can get pregnant with no issues.
Yeah.
And then, of course, through birth, it will support you through birth, through the postpartum period. Um, when you get your first bleed again after your postpartum to help everything start flowing properly. It's also a ritual for that, like to honor your first bleed after your delivery. And then through perimenopause and through like if you've done everything and everything's always functioning properly, then
Yeah.
that is also going to be an easy journey. And then even when you're in menopause, like your body is still cycling, your ovaries are still producing hormones.
Yeah.
So you can steam with the full moon and the new moon and really remind your body that it is cyclical and that you have these cycles. Um, so it's a lifestyle. Like once you
Yeah.
start, you're never going to stop. I don't think.
Yeah. I
Once
think
you
it's
get
just the
hooked.
switch that people need to make to understand
Yeah. And
the importance of these.
of course. And you can go for one steam and it's great. It's an experience. But to really integrate it into your life is something else. And of course the water therapy is the same. Like you can go for one experience and try it and it's like, wow, okay, that was amazing. But you'll see really the full benefits after like at least 3 sessions, because then your nervous system is like, what's happening, and you can completely surrender and let go. And then you can do it as like you get a massage. Get a massage, get a water therapy session. And you're like, okay, ready for your week.
And it's three-dimensional rather than just
Exactly.
the regular massages. Do you have any personal stories or testimonials from clients who have experienced significant improvements? You told me you yourself are one of the biggest testimonial in terms of womb steaming, but any stories that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I have a testimonial page on my website, but off the top of my head, yeah, the one that I love the most was I had a client who had a 6 centimeter cyst on her ovary. She was in a lot of pain. She had to stop working. She was on like pills to keep it the same size. They wanted to do surgery, but she didn't want to, so she was just kind of waiting it out. And then she started steaming daily for 2 months. And then she checked and after 2 months, it was like 1 centimeter.
Wow.
And then after that, like it eventually just disappeared. So I always love that story because it's like real time, like you could see, and that was the only thing really she changed. Um, and then another one, okay, is for birth. So postpartum, I have a client who had a baby before and never didn't steam, and then she steamed for postpartum, and she, stopped bleeding quicker. So like I think she only bled for 2 weeks. And the reason why this is good is because that means that the afterbirth is gone and then the uterus can contract. All the other organs can go back into place and you just feel much better within your own body. And then what else? I mean, there's so many, but let me think of a different symptom.
Anybody with water therapy that you remember?
Yeah. So I had a client who had migraines. And after her first session, she stopped having them, but she still comes once a month just to like reset.
Yeah.
Um, and another like client who's like super corporate, high stress environment. She was like, I used like something happened, and then I was just about to be triggered and go into my normal mode, and I just thought about the water and being in the water, and it's just like my whole body relaxed and I could just deal with whatever was happening. And again, like I do have a few clients that come weekly that are in high stress jobs because it's just resets the nervous system.
I remember reading about a couple who actually did that with you, who lost a baby, had a miscarriage, and I remember you doing the session for both the husband and the wife to let go.
Yeah, exactly. So my partner also does the water therapy. That's how I found out about this work.
Okay.
And so we do often couples, and this one was a beautiful case because especially for like the woman who lost the baby, she does a lot of stuff. She's in like grieving circles and steaming with me and doing different therapies to help,
to let go.
But her husband, not so much. It's much harder for men to
let go.
And
because they hold up, like they portray a very strong exterior.
Exactly. And the water therapy really helped him to let go and release. And yeah, for them both, it was a beautiful journey in this tragedy that happened in their lives. Yeah.
Hopefully they have a baby soon.
Yeah.
For those new to these therapies, right? Like a lot of people are not aware of this. What advice would you give them on getting started? Are there any simple practices or rituals that they can incorporate into their daily lives?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start connecting to your womb, you don't need to do anything really. Just every morning when you wake up, you can place your hands on your womb and just say hello, thank her, like just as simple as that. It's just becoming aware and to becoming grateful and to honoring her. And then you can start with simple questions like, okay, I have to make a decision. What do you think? And then see if she answers you.
Wow.
And maybe she won't, and maybe she will.
That
for me,
that's when you like connect to your feminine energy, and she will answer you.
She will answer, yeah. Like for me, I spoke to my woman for like I think it was a good year before I heard anything. And then when she spoke, I wasn't really happy with what she had to say, but but I listened because I had been cultivating that relationship for so long. But yeah, a lot of like if you think of the period as a fifth vital sign, like what are your symptoms trying to tell you on a like emotional level or on a lifestyle level? Like what do you need to change? So that's what you can ask your womb. Like if you have PCOS or you have painful periods or whatever, like ask your womb, what are you trying to tell me? Like what do I need to do? What do I need to change? How can I be?
How can I keep you more comfortable? Like
yeah. Like how can I serve you? You serve me. How can I serve you?
Yeah. Interesting. Where can our listeners find more information about your work or any resources that you recommend? I know you've got a website, you've got an Instagram page. So do they reach out? I mean, of course, I'll put the links in the podcast as well where people can reach you directly, but anything else that you want to share with them?
My website, She's Liberty, you can go there and explore. Both the womb steaming stuff are there, and my water therapy, as well as my partner's work, who does emotional body work, emotional release body work. Um, but basically, there's different ways you can steam. I recommend first coming to me, either in a circle with a group or privately, to try it. And then the best thing is to get your own kit so you can continue at home. And you can order that through the website. You can order it on Amazon. You can also message me anytime if you want to, like, if you're just not sure where to start or what to do or what herbs or how or what, like, just give me a call. Like, I have a free 15-minute consultation call that you can book, and then we can just have a chat. The water therapy is also on there. You can book it. Right now, we're doing sessions in the ocean, which is amazing, only till the end of June. Like, something else to do it in nature. But the pool is also amazing too. So yeah, you can. I have two Instagram page. One, She is Liberty, for the steaming, and water flow therapy for the water flow.
Great.
I think that answered all your questions.
But that's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation because I totally loved it. It's been truly inspiring. But before we go, right, we have a special segment. This podcast focuses 99% of our conversation is for women, on women, just empowering and giving us more information. But we know that men are a part of our life too, right? So, can you leave our listeners with your 1% advice for the men in our lives? What can men do better? And to understand and support women in general?
So I think the one thing that I would recommend is for men to learn about the seasons of the menstrual cycle and the phases, and to really honor the woman in every way through the different phases, whether it's sexually, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, to really know that we're not the same every day.
Yeah.
And that would bring a lot of peace in the relationship.
Yeah. Good one. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
that. If you all love this episode, please spread the news. I'm so happy again that you joined us today, and have a great day ahead. And of course, until next time, menopause. Why pause? Let's play.